Afternoon.
Hey, Coach. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Again, just a reminder to the group, please use the raised hand function within Zoom and we'll get to your question. First question today will come from Andrew Jones. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Coach. Mac told us yesterday about what kind of transpired after Javonte informed you guys Saturday that he was opting out, wasn't going to play. And he said that you guys kind of had to do some redesign or tweaking the offense. Can you kind of take us through that process and how much you would have to tweak not having guys like Javonte and Michael there?
I'd say 30 carries. Okay, that's what I tell you. Christmas morning, I enjoyed a very good Christmas with 4 kids who wanted to go in 4 different directions, but we had a really good time in the morning, and thankfully, relatives did a good job of supplying them with enough that they were very occupied in the afternoon. And so I spent a lot of Christmas afternoon calling the game based on our game plan against Texas A&M. The 30 carries that I alluded to were the 30 of the 60 or 70 plays that you get in the ball game were kind of geared towards getting him the football one way or the other. And so I called 3 games with Javonte in mind, and later on Saturday, we found out that he would not be with us. And so, you have to, you go make your adjustments. So we've got to take 30 reps and we've got to distribute them and spread them out to the other weapons that we do have. And so game plan adjusting going on over the weekend. And, we just kind of put that to the test today in practice and went very well. So looking forward to having a good week of preparation leading up to Saturday.
What have you seen from Josh and British in particular that you like that kind of fit into what you guys typically do anyway?
Well, I have said, I know Mac has said, Coach Gillespie has alluded to the fact that we love the running back room as a whole. I mean, we've got, there's 5 guys in there, great character guys. They're all very talented. 6 character guys are all talented, and 2 of them have tremendous speed. 2 of them are a little bit bigger, more physical, and it's a well-rounded room. They all know the offense real well. They do a good job pass protecting. What they don't have are all those reps that Michael and Javonte took for us this year, and so they have the practice reps. And as I've alluded to in the past, our 1s and our 2s are our first. Our blue offense and our white offense get equal reps in practice. So they've had equal preparation on the year, so they know the system. It's just the game reps and the actual game experience against the live opponent that they don't have, and so they're gonna need to respond to that on Saturday.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, our next question comes from Pranav Rama. Go ahead.
Coach, you just kind of alluded to this, but in terms of your emphasis in practice this week, just because, the bowl game is past Christmas and New Year, and there's a tendency to get, a little loose, how are you going to keep your guys tight, and how are you guys going to make sure that they're doing the right things in practice, and the emphasis this week on that?
Well, if you ever come and spend time here, things are loose all the time. That's how Mac does it. So it's we're relaxed. We have fun in practice. We have fun when we're preparing. I don't think this week is any different. I think we're excited about the opportunity that some of the young guys are going to get. I'm excited to see them. I mean, you're fans of these guys. We spend every day with them. And that they're our future. And you look forward to watching them develop and watching them play. And, we just have a scenario here where they're going to get an opportunity a little bit sooner. So you plug them in, and we're not going to change anything. I mean, we're going to do what we do. We're not going to reinvent the wheel here now. We still have 42 other guys that know the offense and are instinctive in the offense that we've been running and been successful with all year. So we're going to do what we do. We're going to plug the new guys in and keep going.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, let's go over to Alyssa Ray.
Coach, what was your message to some of these guys in practice this week as far as having to step up, and what's their response been in practice, specifically the 2 in the backfield with Josh and British?
Truthfully, I didn't address it at all. I mean, when we have an injured guy, I don't address it with the team. Occasionally, if Coach Brown feels like that's necessary, then he's the head coach. He'll do that. But from an offensive standpoint, if somebody is out, we plug in the next guy and we practice. And whether that be because of an opt-out or an injury or any other reason that would keep a guy out of practice. Don't have the time to address it, don't need to address it. We just line up and go practice and prep for Saturday. And, you know, I think when you handle it that way, you don't make a big deal out of it, it becomes not a big deal. And that's not to downplay the impact that those guys have had on this program over the last 2 years. We certainly all know that. But we also have a game to win, and we have guys that are going to suit up, and so we're going to move forward with them.
Along those lines, how has Sam Howell responded to this? I know, 4 starters, but also 4 leaders on this team. How does he kind of try to get the no distractions in practice to keep everyone focused on the game?
So I often think coaches are guilty of making this game a lot more difficult than it has to be. And I think we could very easily have made a big deal out of a little adversity and made a problem out of nothing. I think the only coaching that I gave Sam that he probably didn't even need, because he's mature enough to understand this now, leading the offense for the last 24 games. But the only advice I gave him and the only coaching I told him was not to feel like he has to go and win this game himself. The best thing he can do for our football team right now is to keep doing what he has been doing, manage the offense, make plays when he has the opportunity to make plays, and not go outside the front. The only time he's ever gotten in trouble at all, and it's been very few, is when he's tried to do more than he really needs to do on a play. And I think he'd tell you the same thing. And he hasn't done that in quite a while. And so that's really the only advice I gave him was, look, we need to stay focused and keep doing what we're doing. And, he just gave me the nod that he always gave me, and we go out and practice the way we always do. So it's business as usual right now offensively.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, let's go over to John Wilson. Go ahead, John.
Hey, John.
Coach, how are you?
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I was just curious if you draw on any of your experience when you faced Texas A&M during your time at Ole Miss that you can now apply to the meeting in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I think anything we did wrong then, and we're just not going to do that now, right? This is a different team. Joking aside, this is a completely different team. It's the same offensive system, but we have different players here. There's a different emphasis. We are emphasizing different things in the offense. Some of them are similar, and many of them are different. And it's just like anything else. We have a different cast going into this Saturday than we've had all season. So we're going to play to the strengths of that cast. The cast I had at Ole Miss was different than here. So, I went back just to see what Elko did against this X's and O's system, but I think he's going to spend a lot more time watching and studying and preparing for what we're doing here at North Carolina. And that's really the mindset that we have on our end as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go to CL Brown. Go ahead, CL.
Hi, Phil. You guys always seem to be in sync through the season on that opening drive. I think it finished with 8 touchdowns. I forgot. It was so many, but you guys are always in sync on that first drive. With having to plug in so many new guys for the starters, is in some way, are you going to be kind of feeling out to get your own chemistry with so many new guys that are going to be plugged in now as starters?
CL, truthfully, I'm really not. I think if I did that, I would be making a mistake on my own part. I think that our offense is the offense. The guys are, we still have 8 of them, and then the 5 that we rotate in and out at those other positions that are really good football players and have contributed to all the success that, the 3 that won't be here have had. So do we expect the guys that we're plugging in to be Javonte and Michael and Diami? No, we don't. So what we'll do, the only difference will be is we may distribute the ball to more players because we need to. I don't know if there's a guy on the roster that can tote the ball 30 times the way Javonte could right now with the way he's playing. And so, you're going to see more names and more faces have a role on Saturday. But in terms of what I'm calling and how I call it and when I call it, I don't know that any of that's going to change. To me, that's going away from what we do well.
And you mentioned talking to Sam about basically playing within himself. Did you have the same conversation with Daz, given that he's been somebody who's provided a lot of big plays over the last couple of seasons, but him not also trying to do too much with De'Ami gone?
No, I haven't had that conversation with Daz. As a matter of fact, I hope Daz tries to score on every single play he touches the football. If he wants to take the team on his back and catch the ball for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, be my guest. We could use as good a game out of Daz as we can get, and that really holds true for all our guys. Go out and do their job and give us your best effort. And if they're looking to overlap some of the production that we have lost, fantastic. The guy that's running the show, the one that's making the mental decisions, we need him to be as focused as he has been and to generate and execute the offense the way he has and let the athletes go make plays.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next up is Ross Martin.
Hey, Phil, it kind of leads to my next question. Who are you kind of looking to replace what De'Ami could do as a deep threat, as kind of the bigger wide receiver, and he can go long for Sam Howell?
Well, I mean, there's 3 receivers that we're very high on. You have Joffrey Brown's made some big plays this year, and Emory Simmons his role has increased every week as the season has gone on, and he's made some huge plays, especially in the second half of the season. And then we're going to lean on Antoine Green somewhat in the game as well. So those 3, and you may see some of Justin Olsen. Those 3 or 4 guys are going to be our wide receiver core. And, in the backfield, you're going to see Elijah. You're going to see Josh Henderson. You're going to see Bruce Brooks. And that's who's here. Those are the guys that know the job. They're the ones we have confidence in. And so those will be the names that you're calling out on Saturday, as opposed to some of the others.
How does having a deep threat like De'Ami, who can really take the top off of defense, help the overall offense?
Well, I think, the goal is stretch the defense horizontally pre-snap, stretch them vertically post-snap, and in a perfect world, 7 guys evenly displaced away from each other, so you're creating space for your athletes. It doesn't work that pretty, but when you have a guy like De'Ami who can stretch you vertically, it gives us an opportunity to do that to the defense. He's always a huge threat down the field. But as I say, Daz is a huge threat down the field. Emory is a threat down the field. Antoine is. Joffrey certainly is. So we're just going to have to do some of the things that we're used to doing with some different faces. And, the rest of it will still be instinctive to the remaining players on the offense.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question comes from Adam Smith.
Hey, Phil, just touching on what you're talking about to Alyssa's question and CL about Sam and staying focused and playing within himself. Is there any inclination just on your part when you're scripting these plays or just putting your plan in place to give him more responsibility just because you know what you have in him? Just on your end, when you're getting your designs together, do you have that inclination just to put even more on his plate?
So I would say, and I always say that our offense is simpler because we want the guys to play instinctively, and that sounds like rhetoric, but that's really how it is. Wherever that level of responsibility from a decision-making standpoint is with Sam, will he have more to do this game? A little bit. I mean, again, why dish up something completely different to a player who's already one of the best at his position? We're going to ask him to do what he's always done, and maybe he'll have a few more decisions to make with regards to, it's a good thing he has more people to distribute the ball to. When De'Ami's out there and you have a one-on-one, you kind of know where you're going. Now he's going to have to settle in and pick the one that is in the best one-on-one scenario and trigger the football, whether it be on a screen or underneath or downtown. His job doesn't change. It's just the cast that he's playing with will be a little bit different. Their strengths are a little bit different, and so we'll play to their strengths. If we have a really good change of direction underneath guy, we may do a little bit more there with him. If we have another guy that can go downtown, then we'll try to go downtown with that guy. We were so spoiled with Javonte and Michael because both of them were so well-rounded. And we have some well-rounded backs that are going to play Saturday, but some of them are blocking better, some of them are running better, some of them are better receivers. And so we're going to utilize most of them, and we're going to play to their strengths. And I think we can get through a game that way without creating any tendencies, because you don't have game 14 to go to.
Do you think you guys are even learning stuff about some of the running backs that haven't played as much and the receivers that have played much, even right now at the end of December, with just right now in practice? You're learning more about what they can do?
I think you're always learning. You know, what I learned today was there was some guys out there that took a lot more reps than they usually get, and they handled it really well. And so that was kind of promising today. But as I've said, the white team that goes in after the blue team gets the exact same amount of reps in practice all week long, and that includes Friday. So those guys have had as much time to prepare for what they do at their skill set, at their position, as the guys that were playing ahead of them. And so I think from knowing the offense and making this cut and that catch and this block and doing all those things, those are things that they know how to do already. And we just have to, you know, they have to understand they've got to go execute and do those things against live competition on Saturday.
Okay, today's final question for Coach Longo comes from Ashley Herman. Go ahead, Ashley.
Sorry about that. Hey, Coach. I know Jimbo Fisher's MO per se is to keep the momentum going. Does your locker room message parallel that in any way? And if not, what's a view into your meeting mantras?
Keep the momentum going is what you're saying they're doing today. Well, I hope we're doing the same thing. You know, we just discussed scoring. I guess we scored a touchdown on the first drive of 8 games. You know, we'd like to keep that going, right? We'd like that to be game 9 this Saturday. The momentum and really we want to stay consistent, and we want to continue to do what we have done all year, and that's try to be a week better for the next opponent. We respect A&M tremendously. They have one of the best defensive lines that we've seen all season, maybe in the 2 years I've been here. They're really, really good on the back end. The linebackers are excellent football players. So we're going to see one of the better defenses we've seen. We know that. We know where the individual challenges are. We know we're going to have to play physically. We know this will be one of the faster defenses we've competed against. So, I mean, you know, look, we know our job. We're well aware of what we need to do to win the game. And it's just going to come down to executing on Saturday to give ourselves an opportunity to win on the offensive side.
Thank you, Coach.
Great, Coach. Thank you so much for your time today.
All right, thank you. I'll have a good week. See you at the game.